Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and welcome to this week's episode of Dear Nero, the somewhat weekly Q&A here in the channel where subscribers send me in questions, and I answer them. It's a pretty simple process. Last week we didn't have an episode. If I recall correctly, it's because of Season 1. There was just so much to discuss when it came to Season 1 of Vanguard that basically just there wasn't really time or a place to fit on the channel that week's episode of Dear Nero. So this week we're doing something a little bit different, kind of a special episode to kind of make it up to you guys. We're bringing my brother back. If you guys caught the video where we did that Call of Duty retrospective, where we discussed Call of Duty from 2007 to 2021. It ended up being like an hour and a half long video. Same guy, my brother. And you guys seem to enjoy that previous video, so I thought I'd bring him on here once again. I thought it'd make for a fun dynamic here for this week's episode, as well as we're going to be doing something also a little bit different. I have no idea what the questions are. No clue whatsoever. So what I did is I tweeted out like I normally do. Use hashtag Dear Nero on Twitter to submit your questions. And my brother's the one that went through and screenshotted a bunch of questions. And he's going to be the one asking the questions. And we're both going to be answering them. So I have no idea what kind of questions I'm in for this week. Should be pretty interesting. And here he is as I undeafen here. How you doing, Justin? How's it going tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh, I'm actually pretty tired. I didn't sleep all that well last night. I stayed up way too late streaming. I have a bad habit of doing that. But we're here, and I'm ready to go. I told everyone that you have the questions. I have no idea what they're going to be. Sometimes people ask really stupid questions, and I just ignore those. But you're the one that picked them out this week, so maybe you have some stupid questions in here, so I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I specifically picked the stupidest, so...
Oh, good.
All right, question number 1. Comes in from Joshua on Twitter, and he asks very simply, how's your day going?
How was my day? It was a pretty basic day. Should I go first?
Go ahead.
All right. Well, I mean, you probably had a more interesting day. So let's see. I woke up, slept in way too late, woke up, went for a walk with Courtney. It was kind of funny. Last night, she texted me at like 6 a.m. and just like 3 eyeball emojis. And I'm like, I'm going to bed soon, I promise. And then I was texting her because she saw I was on Discord. She's like, you're still up? And she called me at like 1 or 2 this afternoon, something like that. And she's like, I thought about letting you sleep, but it's way too nice of a day for you just to be sleeping. We're going for a walk. And so we went for a walk. And then I came back. I made a video on Warzone, how much I've been enjoying Warzone as of late. And I used gameplay from our win last night. And then played a little bit of Minecraft. I did a little bit of editing for a different video project I'm working on. Then went over and hung out with Courtney. Watched more of what was the Twilight Zone, the new Twilight Zones, which are not bad, actually. They're pretty good. I kind of like them. And now I'm here. I went and picked up food. I'm waiting to eat my food this evening, actually, until after this. I don't want to hold you up too much. So my food is sitting here on my desk. I'm waiting to eat it until after this episode of Dear Nero. And I'm going to eat, and then we're probably going to stream. So that's been my day. Pretty basic. Honestly, that's what most of my days are. Hang out with Courtney, go for walks, make videos, and stream. That's pretty much all I do anymore. What about you? Your day's probably a lot more normal.
Yeah, I like how you started that with, oh, your day's probably a lot more interesting than mine. No, I woke up.
Okay.
I had lunch with my wife, as I always do.
What was it?
Oh, God, what did I have for lunch? Taco Bell, leftover Taco Bell. Actually.
Don't worry, I was driving home tonight, right after I picked up my food. I'm like, wait, what did I order? I'm like, oh yeah, now I remember. I got a sub and mac and cheese that James always yells at me because it makes me sick.
Yeah.
But go on.
So, woke up, had lunch with her, leftover Taco Bell, probably my favorite thing in the world. After she left, went back to work. I played some Days Gone, played until about 3 o'clock, in which I went in after that. I went to my job as a security officer, and then worked for 7 hours and came home and got ready for this. That's it. Nothing interesting happened at work, nothing, no. That's it.
You know, those Los Angeles YouTubers make life seem a lot more interesting. Every time they're waking up, they're like, you know, we're giving away a $50,000 car today, and guess who showed up? This random micro celebrity, and you know, their daily vlogs and stuff like that. But no, I think you know, people may overestimate what the actual day-to-day life is of a gaming YouTuber. It's like, dude, I play games. Like, what do you mean?
No, that's pretty much it. We just play games, and then we stream ourselves playing games. And that's
Talk
it.
about
then
games.
we sleep. Yeah, we talk about games and then sleep.
Pretty much. Not really a whole lot of variety in my day-to-day life. But every now and then you got like mixed up a little bit just so you're not completely burnt out. But yeah, pretty basic lives, I would say, for the two of us.
All right, question number 2, if you're ready for it.
I am always ready.
Mason on Twitter asks, why do you think that the past 4 weekends on Call of Duty Vanguard have been double XP? Love the COD retrospective video with you two. Hope to see more of Justin in the future, which I appreciate so much. I had to
No.
throw that part in.
No, we're not making Justin a staple here in the channel. I don't think there's demand for that.
I think there is, but go on.
There actually might be, but I think you should go first. Why do you think there's been 4 straight weekends of double XP?
2 reasons. One, because they know that the game is just completely broken. And while they're working on it, hopefully while they're working on it, they're giving us what we want. And 2, I think the player count is probably lower than they're expecting, and they realize that double XP brings players back. But I think it's actually a bad idea. Because me personally, I almost feel like now that when I'm not playing with double XP, I feel like everything is too slow. And it's like, oh, well, I could level a gun I don't really want to level right now and, do that, but why not just wait until the next double XP? I'll just, it almost seems like there's no point in playing unless there's double XP.
Understandable. I think the same thing. Well, I'll cover on that here real quick. So I feel the same way. Double XP we've had so often that when we don't have double XP, or specifically weapon XP, when we don't have double weapon XP, I feel like I'm wasting my time. Because I'm like, well, why am I going to grind X terrible gun like the Bren or something like that when I could just wait until it's double XP and get through the drudge that is leveling up that bad gun twice as fast,
And every gun in the game kind of sucks with no attachments.
Yep.
So,
I mean, there's a couple of weapons like that I'm just not a fan of. Honestly, I have most of the assault rifles still to do and the SMGs, which is fun, but I still have the Bren and the SVT, which is no fun. I have the snipers, which is fun, but for me, sniping is a lot slower. I mean, there's a reason why you don't see quickscopers as much in Vanguard. It's a lot harder to do and be like mobile with the snipers. You have to sit back a little bit more, and therefore you're not getting as many kills as you could in a game like Cold War, where snipers were busted. And so it takes a long time to level up your snipers. Then you have your pistols. There's like 5 pistols to level up, and then you have, again, the Bren and the SVT, which are no fun whatsoever. And so what I've done is I've basically gone to the point where when it's double XP, I grind up weapons. When it's not double XP and I want to play Vanguard, I will just do challenges on my weapons that are already max level. But the reason why I think they have double XP almost every single weekend is, again, like basically what you said. The game is really busted. They know it's busted. I think they're intentionally busting it at this point. I think the devs and the QA testers and everyone, they are intentionally just messing everything up on purpose as some sort of like weird protest to Activision. I don't know. It's weird. But I think that's the main reason why they're doing it. I think they know that the game is not selling well whatsoever. In the UK, again, it was the worst launch in COD history since 2007. Well, not the worst one ever, I guess, but since 2007.
Yep.
And apparently in the US, things aren't nearly as bad. It was the best-selling game in November, and it is the second best-selling game in the United States for the entirety of 2021. The only game that outsold it would be Black Ops Cold War. So RIP those Battlefield guys that said Battlefield's going to kill COD, RIP COD, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, while competition is good, and even
I said that every year.
Well, yeah, I said it was good that Battlefield and Halo are going to be providing some competition to COD, but COD still is number one. Battlefield, I think Battlefield's not even in the top 5 for best-selling games this year. It was the second best-selling game, or one of the best-selling games, I think, in November. But in terms of overall for the year of 2021. You could say, well, it's not fair. It's only been out for like a month. Well, so's Vanguard. And Vanguard's number 2 behind Cold War. So
you can't really get a good read on Halo Infinite because it's a free-to-play game.
Yeah.
You can't really judge sales.
Yeah, and the game itself just came out, like 6 days ago for the actual campaign, the thing you actually purchased. So we have no idea what that game's been. But I think they realize sales are down. I think they know the game is busted, and I think that this is their way of increasing audience retention on the weekends, which is when they may have more competition from other games. Maybe on the weekends, people decide they want to play maybe other things, maybe go out, do some other stuff like that. So instead of like trying to have people be active and social on the weekends, maybe they're trying to get them to be playing more COD. By incentivizing, yep, literally words out of my mouth right there, incentivizing them to do something else. So I'm not complaining, I guess, because it takes forever to level up. The leveling system, I don't know if I'm gonna do that video, but last night when we were like so confused as to what prestige I was, like none of us knew what prestige I was in COD. The game told me 4th, and then it told me 7th, and on Justin's screen it said I was 5th. We had no idea what prestige I am, and I may do a video on that. But with how bad the leveling system is, I don't care about leveling up. As long as I hit Master Prestige, every season to get the challenges and all that, I'll be happy. I mean, for crying out loud, the challenges aren't even out yet. Did you know, like, the seasonal challenges, remember that from, like, Modern Warfare? Maybe even Cold War?
Yeah.
Yeah, those aren't a thing. They're supposed to be a thing.
Guns this year. It really is all about the guns this year.
Well,
Like leveling up your guns and getting gold camos.
Well, they're supposed to be a thing. You can see those challenges in Warzone. They're not tracking in Warzone for some reason, but you can see them in Warzone. You can't see them in Vanguard. So right now, leveling up is completely pointless. The only thing that matters, like you said, is the weapons. So, I level up my weapons when it's double XP. When it's not, like last night, I did almost all the challenges on the Tommy gun except for long shots, and that I have the crouch kills or whatever still to do, but... that's basically what I'm doing, but we probably shouldn't focus too much on this one question because we got plenty more to go with. But yeah, we're both in agreement. It's because the game's busted. It's because the game has so many problems, and because the game's not selling as well as it should, even though it is the best-selling game this year. Well, one of the best-selling games this year.
But they have to keep breaking those thresholds because they're Activision.
True.
All right. Next question comes in from Patrick. He asks, are you and your brother fans of Pokemon? If so, which is your favorite and why? If you have multiple favorites, please share them. Now, it says, are you a fan of Pokemon? And he says, which is your favorite? I don't know if he's asking favorite Pokemon game or Pokemon in general. Like, which Pokemon?
Could do favorite game and then do favorite Pokemon. You can start. Because people know mine.
Favorite game, I honestly have no idea. That's pretty much impossible. Maybe I would maybe say Sword and Shield just because I thought it was really interesting to see Pokemon in the overworld for the first time ever. And I know that's not a very popular opinion in the Pokemon world. A lot of people think that game sucked because it was too easy, I guess.
Yeah, I saw that. Most people want like an adult difficulty.
Yeah,
for Pokemon.
I can agree with that, but it was really interesting because I've been playing Pokemon since Gen 1, and this is the first Pokemon ever where you're just walking around and you could just see a Machoke walking towards you, and I'm like, that's almost surreal because we've been waiting for that for many years. Yeah. As for actual favorite Pokemon in the game, Mimikyu is probably my favorite, and then randomly every single tanky Pokemon. If it's tanky and hard to kill, I really like them. Some examples of that would be like Blissey, Toxapex, Blastoise. He's like the tanky starter of Gen 1. Pretty much any big, fat, tanky Pokemon. Wailord is a good example.
Literal whale, yeah.
Yeah, love him.
So for my favorite Pokemon game would be Pokemon Red, Gen 1. That's what I started with. Actually, my first ever Pokemon game was actually Pokemon Blue, believe it or not. And my favorite Pokemon of all time is Bulbasaur, which if you go to my Twitch, like all my emotes are Bulbasaur themed, which is definitely pretty fun. Little known fact, actually, about Gen 1. I didn't know this till the other day. Maybe I told you. I can't remember. Maybe I told James. I was randomly just like Googling Golem, because Golem, like Bulbasaur is by far my favorite. And obviously the whole Bulbasaur line. But then after that, Golem, believe it or not, is my second favorite Pokemon of all time. And I didn't know this until like the other day, but apparently Golem is the only Pokemon in the original Gen 1 games that you cannot run into naturally. Every other Pokemon, in one way or the other, you will run into or see naturally in the game, besides Golem. The only time there's a reference to him is you talk to like a random trainer and you're like, man, I'm going to trade my Graveler and make it evolve. That's it. Other than that, Golem was basically like a legendary back in Gen 1, right up there with Mew, because you just like couldn't, like if you didn't know about him from someone else, you would never learn that Golem existed, aside from, I guess, leveling up Geodude and Graveler, then randomly trading. But
yeah, I never really thought about that. He doesn't appear in any of the gyms because the Rock Gym is the first gym, and obviously he doesn't have a Golem because it's like level 10.
I mean, there's Geodudes galore, but no Golem, right?
Yeah, there's no Golem. They would have a Graveler in there. It's just I think
this is back in the 90s. This is before the internet and all that. So like people evolved their Geodude to their Graveler, and then they just kept leveling up. I guess Graveler is the final form because there's plenty of Pokemon that only have 2 evolutions, like Seadra, Tentacruel, Dugong, like all these Pokemon that you evolve one time and then they're done. People probably thought Graveler must be one of them. I didn't know about Golem until the anime.
In Gen 1, he did hold his own in as just Graveler, but.
I was, competitively, it was between him and Rhydon, maybe? I can't remember who it was for like a ground type.
As other ground rock types, probably just Rhydon.
Yeah, and there's pros and cons to each. Like if you want to do a certain thing, Golem's better. If you want to do a certain thing, Rhydon's better. But yeah, we both big fans of Pokemon. Played a lot of Pokemon Go when that was out, and people actually cared about it. Not so much anymore. Sure. And I have Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, and I'm slowly playing through that. So...
very slowly.
Well, you did the same thing, but you failed your Nuzlocke, so what,
Yeah, let's not talk about my failed Nuzlocke on Pokemon.
Yeah, the Elite Four, you weren't prepared. There's a psychic gym or psychic leader, and you weren't ready for it. And then you lost your entire team, and then had to just quit.
The entire game is extremely easy, except for the gym leaders in the Elite Four. They have competitive teams with competitive move sets and competitive items. And
are they putting out stealth rock?
IVs and EVs.
Are they putting out stealth rocks and stuff?
Yes. You think I'm joking, but yes, they start out with a
baton pass.
Stealth rock. They start out with the psychic Elite Four guy starts out with a Mr. Mime, who immediately throws out a light screen and whatever the other one is,
reflect.
Barrier or something. Yeah, reflect. it makes it so for 5 turns you just do no damage.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it's actually awful.
I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. My team right now has I still need to evolve my Graveler into a Golem. Then I just got a Ponyta, Pachirisu, the little Pikachu looking thing.
So adorable.
Yeah,
really fast, absolutely awful though.
Really cute. I end up losing my I had at one point a Kadabra, and I also had a Machoke. Both died. So
yeah,
couldn't get those to evolve.
He died like right before the Elite Four, and I'm like, well, I lose.
You're kind of just hoping on him just speeding through and sweeping.
Yeah, literally.
What's the next question?
All right, question 4 comes from Kalen on Twitter. He asks, what game have you guys enjoyed most together?
Ooh, good question.
That's a tough one.
Okay,
we've played a lot of games together throughout our lives as kids and all the way now until adulthood.
And then there's games that I like that you don't like, and vice versa. So, what game do we play together, whether it's online with other people or just co-op, that we really enjoyed? A couple come to mind for me. Do you have any?
You can go first if you're thinking.
I would say top of the list would probably be like World of Warcraft. You don't like it anymore and haven't played it in a while, but when we did like it, we played it quite a bit. Heroes of the Storm, we played almost every night for a long time.
That was fun, yeah.
Back more towards when Heroes of the Storm first came out, it was both of our first, no, you played Smite before that, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I started with Smite. It was my first MOBA.
It was my first MOBA, so I was brand new to it, and I fell in love right away, plus all the Blizzard characters and stuff like that. We played Overwatch a lot together. We played, but actually, easy answer, Borderlands 2, I think.
Oh, yeah. Did we play Borderlands 2 together, even? I feel like
we played a decent amount together, but whenever I did my series and stuff like that, like, you weren't ever really part of it as much. I think you were there at the very beginning, but not so much. Then we did a bunch of endgame stuff where we took on raid bosses and did random DLCs and stuff. We didn't play the game a ton together, but we both played it a massive amount.
Yeah, it was weirdly, that's true. We both played it, but never really together.
So what would you say would be the game then?
As for the favorite game that both of us played together, that's actually really difficult. Here's the Storm. I honestly didn't even think of it, but that was probably up there as one of the top. I did enjoy World of Warcraft just because that was the type of game that we just sat there and talked about. It wasn't even so much playing it together. It was more so the world of World of Warcraft is so huge. The world of World of Warcraft is so huge, and there's so much content there and lore there and all this other stuff that we always had something to talk about while we were playing World of Warcraft. So even if we weren't playing together, we were like at our mom's house for dinner one night or something, and we would just sit there and chit-chat about the game, and my wife hated it. She's like, you're just going to sit there and talk to Joe the whole time, aren't you? Well, we got to talk about the game, babe.
We're in the same guild. Tonight's raid night. Tonight's raid night. You know, we gotta get through the entire raid together. Come on. He plays a warrior, I play a rogue. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, so World of Warcraft is definitely up there. Maybe not so much as gameplay-wise, but definitely just in general for both of us, I don't know, always having something to talk about.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much to that game. Compared to, like, Call of Duty, where you can't really sit there and talk about. I can't sit there and talk about it forever.
I hope next expansion, I can, but in fact I have. But next expansion for WoW, I'm hoping it's good. Shadowlands was pushed out early. It's Activision Blizzard. They pushed out before it was ready because they wanted to meet a certain quota. And it was a horrible expansion. It has been a horrible expansion. Apparently 9.15 has made it better, but it's at the point where the expansion's gone on for so long. I don't want to play catch-up. I don't care. At this point, I'm checked out. You know, I'll revive my Paladin and maybe my Rogue and stuff like that when the next expansion happens. But until then, like, I want to just lose my life to WoW again. but they haven't given me a reason to in the past couple years. BFA was fun when it first came out. Legion was goated. I loved Legion. I played an unholy amount of Legion. But yeah, after that,
Legion as well, actually.
Yeah, Legion was sick. Yeah, you and me and Nick from Texas, and then the guild, and there was so much. We played so often. The thing is too, like you feel like you're caught up, like you're pretty well off on your main character. Then you think to yourself, you know what? Death Knight sounds kind of fun. Yeah, Death Knight. I like Death Knight. That's pretty fun. Yeah, I don't really tank much. I could be a blood Death Knight, and then you start doing that, and then you start PvPing, and then like.
WoW is like a second job. It really is. You have to devote so much time to it.
Oh yeah.
Be up there.
But
we got to move on.
All right, I'll talk forever. You're the quarterback of this panty raid. You gotta be like telling me, hey Joe, we're going to the next question. Quit talking, because I can talk forever about any subject. I promise.
I can too, but we got.
You don't want another hour and a half long video.
Another hour and a half long video, yeah.
All right.
All right. Question 5 comes in from Papa Bowser, and he asks, "What was it like growing up in Pennsylvania for you two? Other than video games, what would you guys do to stay entertained as kids?"
Ooh, that's a
like
good
that
question. Yeah, you can go first.
Go
Oh, me. All right. So Justin and I grew up in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. Like literally, we didn't have internet until we moved out of where we grew up, and then moved to a town nearby, and then got internet for the first time. I must have been like 13. You must have been 8 or 9 at the time, something like that. So yeah, we grew up without internet. Our grandmother, who lived right next door, did have a computer and internet. So we'd go over there and we would play Flash games on the computer and stuff. I know the question's not about games, so I'm just saying like that was like our introduction. So growing up in the middle of nowhere, we always loved games. We got a Sega Genesis. Remember I had to save up half my allowance for it when I was real young, and then my mom and dad paid for the other half. And we did the same thing, I think, for the PlayStation 1 and the PlayStation 2. Like we always kind of like earned everything we got by doing chores and stuff like that around the house, because we lived out in the middle of nowhere. Lots of time outside, like an obscene amount of time outside. Climbing trees was probably my favorite thing to do as a kid. I would climb trees, and I never had like a tree house or anything like that, but I would like take chairs literally up into trees and find like branches where I could set the chair down and then sit in a chair in the tree, and then just use my imagination for anything. Like when you're so it's not sheltered. I guess it would be sheltered. We're so sheltered, I guess, as a kid, where I didn't really have like people nowadays are like, Joe, you haven't seen this movie? You haven't seen this movie? It's like, no, I've never seen anything. So people would talk about like Lord of the Rings, right? And I would get like this very small glimpse of what Lord of the Rings was, and then my imagination would go wild, and I would just imagine all this stuff all day, and I would use my imagination growing up constantly, and having like sword fights, and wrestling was big for us as well. We had a bunch of toy wrestlers, and like a 3-foot tall Diamond Dallas Page wrestler thing that we would wrestle. We had a swing set outside, a sandbox. Grew up 4-wheeling because we lived out in the middle of nowhere, and that's what our parents did. And we, learned to ride pretty early on. And so we'd go do that, hunting, fishing. And lots of television. Because we didn't have internet, but we did have satellite out there because there's no cable, obviously. And we watched lots of Nickelodeon. So lots of Nickelodeon. Oh yeah, lots of Nickelodeon, lots of television, but also just a ridiculous amount of playing on the swing set and using imagination, hanging out with our cousins that would come stay at my grandparents' house, and swimming. Our grandparents got a swimming pool actually when we were a little bit older. I'd say I was like 9 or so. You were maybe 4 or 5, something like that. And so we spent all summer swimming. Lots of outdoor activities, pretty much, which is a very stark contrast to where we are now, because it's mostly just indoors and stuff. So what was childhood like for you?
Well, definitely the complete opposite of what life is like for me now, which is like 24/7 video games. Back then, as he said, we didn't really have we had some video games, but it wasn't really our whole life, especially like it is now. We spent so much time outside. My fondest memories were always us literally just playing football outside. Especially after Joe had joined his, I think, first football team. He, in school, he started learning certain plays and certain routes for like wide receivers and stuff like that.
I still remember.
He brought home playbooks and stuff, and he would teach me the plays, and we would just go outside, and literally from like 8 in the morning until dinner time at 5 p.m., we would just throw the football around, practice routes, and stuff like that. And I was...
Can I quiz you?
God, go ahead.
You're at receiver. I'm at quarterback. You're lining up. I tell you, just run a 5.
Oh
You
God,
probably
I
don't.
remember,
You
I
probably
the
don't remember.
numbers.
You
I don't
probably
remember the numbers. No.
So you'll probably remember it when I bring it back. So our coach had like a weird system. So it was like a number system, like 1 through 7 or whatever, and it was square in, square out, curl in, curl out, post, flag, fly, and then I forget what they called the thing where you fake a post and you cut to the sideline. But yeah, so a 1 was an in, a 2 was an out, a 3 was a curl, a 4 was a curl out, a 5 was a post, a 6 was a corner out.
Yeah, I remember all those.
Yeah,
I remember the name of all of them, just not the numbers.
yeah, so we'd be like, "Hey, Justin, 5," and you just knew it, and then you ran it. And then one time you went and dove for a football and landed right in our grandmother's flower garden and hurt yourself real bad.
Yes, and I was the toughest kid in the world back then. And we landed. I dove into our grandmother's flower garden because he threw a pass, awful pass. I think he was trying to hurt me at that point. And the flower garden had a bunch of rocks in it. I dove into the flower garden, hit my knee off of one of the rocks. I was bleeding everywhere. My knee was really messed up.
Cried.
Didn't break or anything. Definitely cried. But I remember sitting at the edge of the bathtub. My mom was cleaning my leg off. Joe came in, and I'm like, "Did I make the catch?" Because I was just the toughest little kid in the world. But yeah, that really is all we did back then. Was just everything was outside. We'd make up games. We were in the middle of nowhere, so like even though we had friends at school and stuff like that. It was difficult for them to ever like come to our house because they were miles upon miles away.
We're talking like half an hour away. Like our school bus ride to school was 45 minutes long. And it's not because we were 45 minutes away from school. It's mostly because we were, call it half an hour away from school, but the bus had to stop at everyone's houses and stuff. But yeah, our bus rides to and from school were 45 minutes apiece. Like we were in the boonies. Yeah. Another thing I forgot until you started bringing that up there, bikes. Lots of biking and skateboarding. There wasn't really anywhere to skateboard besides our garage. But yes, lots of biking and skateboarding as well. And getting plywood and stuff like that and setting up jumps outside and hitting jumps and stuff like that as well as we got a little bit older and as we were influenced by television shows like Rocket Power, which made everything look so much easier than it actually is. Oh, and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, that was a big game we played a lot growing up. So, and Dave Mirra's Pro BMX.
Yeah, the video games we played were sports. We played sports outside. I always wanted to become like a football player. I think Joe wanted to be a football player at one point. We were actually very active children, and then that just went away.
Then video games just took over, man.
Yeah, then video games just took it. I think it was because it was almost like culture shock, I think, when we realized that video games and internet were a thing. We're like, this exists?
Yeah, like, if we were raised around it, we probably wouldn't care as much. But the fact that like we didn't have like I was literally like I was done with puberty by the time I had my first like internet connection. So when I got into COD and I got into online games and stuff like that, I hit it hard. I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. I've wasted my entire life outside in the sun.
Yeah. Oh, same here. All right. Next question comes from Ronin. He asks, has your brother ever wanted to start a YouTube channel after seeing your success? Have you guys ever considered starting one together?
Well, that's all you, Shoots.
Well, he was asking you if I've ever, has your brother ever wanted to start a YouTube channel? Have I? Yes. After seeing, his success, obviously, not that he makes a ridiculous amount of money or anything like that, but knowing that you can make a living playing video games and, streaming and stuff like that, I think it's every kid's dream, honestly. And that's one of the problems with, gaming now is that everyone thinks they can be a streamer. But it is a lot more difficult.
Like, I don't want to be like a gatekeeper and like, oh no, people can't do what I do. I'm just saying, no, it's going to be hard to do. Like, the only reason why I think I have any, like, my channel even exists is because I started so early. Like, my channel is over 10 years old. Yeah. Like, and that's only this channel. I've had channels before this one. Like, I've been at YouTube for literally like half my life. I've been like on YouTube making videos and stuff like that. And it's hard. And there's people out there that are way funnier than me, way more entertaining, way better at editing, way better at the game, way better at everything, but there's never going to get seen because there's so many people trying to do this now. I remember back when I was in elementary school, it's always like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I wanted to be a wrestler or a stunt man or a football player or whatever. Yep. Nowadays, every kid wants to be a YouTuber now. Like, no one wants to be a fireman or a police officer anymore. Like, they every one of them wants to do vlogs.
I want to be a social media influencer. Yeah.
I want to be an influencer. I hate that word. I literally have downstairs in my living room on my what do you call that thing above a fire mantle? I have my Borderlands 3 tag from when I went out to Los Angeles with Gearbox and did the Borderlands 3 event, and literally it says Borderlands 3 influencer. I'm like, oh, it's a dirty word. I feel like I'm trying to get like kids hooked on cigarettes or something like that when you call me an influencer. Like it's just I don't like the name, but so you always want to start a channel.
Definitely want to start a channel at some point, but I also, seeing the struggles that he went through and the ups and downs of it, just kind of haven't. Not really sure why, I guess. I just never wanted to put, I guess I didn't want to put the work in. I haven't really had time because I have had to carry, like a real, not a real job, not that you don't have a real job. But
I mean, I've literally worked the same job you had, but it's fine.
Yeah. But I've had to, balance like a regular job, a regular 9 to 5. Plus, I've been with my wife now for 10 years. I've been with my wife for almost as long as Joe, pretty much as long as Joe's been doing YouTube.
Yeah.
So
yeah, she's been around forever.
Yeah, we can't really picture life without her at this point.
I don't know why she keeps you around, frankly. I mean,
yeah, I don't know either, but. Either way, yeah. So I've definitely thought about it. Just never really never got around to it, I suppose.
That's what most people say. But I'll give you some advice from this guy whose name I can't remember from 2010. So way back in the day, I'm spinning you a manly yarn here, telling you an old tale from an old gamer here. So back in the day, back in Modern Warfare 2, with all the modded lobbies, I befriended a guy who had like a JTagged Xbox, and he could mod Xbox lobbies and stuff. And the reason why I befriended him was because I got into one of his lobbies. I'm like, dude, I want to be in this every day. This stuff is cool. Super jump, getting outside the map, exploring, doing stuff like that. This is neat. It's fun to play in these private matches. Yeah. So I befriended him, started talking to him a bunch, and we got to the point where we just sign in, and he'd be online like, hey man, you got room? And he'd be like, yeah, come on in. And I was one of the few people. Everyone else was a customer to him. I was there just to chat with him, because he would literally charge Microsoft points for people to get into his mod lobbies. And I'm like, I just want to play Super Jump and get outside the map and run around. Like, that's all I want to do. But I'm like, man, it must be so cool. I'm like, so this is like your job? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I don't do anything else. I make enough money from this. This is what my job is. And I'm like, that's actually really cool, man. He's like, yeah, for a bit it is. He's like, don't get me wrong, it's still fun, but you don't have that same excitement to turn your Xbox on every day when it's your job. And that's true. That's definitely something I've learned. And one thing, you've always loved video games so much. I'm like, well, let me tell you, if you start forcing yourself to do full-on Let's Plays and stuff like that of all sorts of different games and stuff like that, well, yes, it could turn into something cool on YouTube. At the same time, you may lose a bit of that passion you may have had for gaming by forcing out videos and always being on, always recording. Like, let me tell you, playing through Fallout 4 while you're recording is a lot different than playing through Fallout 4 while you're sitting there sipping on your soda, eating your chips, and just getting lost and immersed in the world when you're trying to commentate and be entertaining and so on and so forth. It's a whole different experience.
Yeah, I feel like it's immersion breaking, especially in single player games.
That's why I play the Vanguard campaign off stream. People said I should just stream it. I'm like, no. I mean, I could, but I don't think I'd get into it. I don't think I would feel like any empathy or sympathy or whatever for the characters. I don't think I would really get invested in the story if I'm talking to chat.
Yeah. If I were to ever do Let's Plays, especially for single player games, I'd probably do like commentary, like no commentary. Which sometimes those get views, sometimes they don't. Some people want especially story based games, they don't want commentary. But a lot of times they do. And it's kind of hard to differentiate yourself when you don't have anything special to offer. Just the regular gameplay with no commentary. Yeah, you're what differentiates you from the other channels on YouTube. And if you're just not putting yourself into the video, it's like, well, what's the point? Like, there's like one person that can pull it off, and that's the relaxing end. But he does unboxings now, which are also amazing. But he was the one guy that never did any commentary on anything, but everyone always watched his zombie stuff, and it was always so good. But yeah, he does unboxing stuff now, which is also very cool because he's a really unique way of going about it. But yeah, it's really hard to pull off that kind of a thing. But if you want to start YouTube, I mean, I think it'd be fun. If anything, we should just do more stuff on my second channel. I think. Well, that's part of the question. The second part of the question is: have you guys ever considered starting one together?
Well, I've already got a second channel. It's called Nero's Let's Plays, and there's about 1,500 videos on there. Various Let's Plays I've done over the years, and Justin was included in Left 4 Dead. You were there for the Borderlands 1 Remastered. You were there for some of Borderlands 2. You were there for a lot of the recent streams in the Borderlands 3 DLCs. That might be it for what videos you were in.
Yeah, I was a big part of that back when it first started.
Yeah.
especially. And then you kind of stop paying so much attention to it, and I stopped paying so much attention to it.
It's a passion project. It's a side hobby. Like, hey, I want to play through this game. I'm going to record it and make videos out of it because people like when I make Let's Plays of things. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. But, obviously it's not going to be the top of my priority list because I stream and do videos on the main channel here and have a life and everything. So,
How dare you?
yeah, finding time to record 40 hours of a single player game or whatever is sometimes difficult. So, it is what it is.
As for actually starting a channel together, I don't think that's ever going to happen. But I do enjoy being on his channel every once in a while for things like this.
I feel like if anything, I would just rebrand my second channel and make it about the two of us, because then just do dual videos or whatever from there on out, as compared to just making it about me. I think it's been like 5 months since I've made a video. My last video was part 1 of Wave Break, and I never continued it.
Yeah, that game died off pretty quick.
That game never started. It has like 14 reviews on Steam. It was a really cool idea. I thought it was a neat,
really cool
concept.
idea. Fantastic band. Made a song
yeah.
for it. Yeah, it was the whole thing. But next question. What is your favorite single-player game and why? This comes from Tristan.
Ooh. Okay, you've played a lot more than me, so I'm gonna let you go first on this one, which is gonna be hard, but you've had all day to think about this. I don't know these questions. You do. You didn't prepare an answer, did you?
I would probably have to go with Dragon Age Origins.
Okay.
I always bring it back. I always bring it up because I don't know if more of it's nostalgia or the fact that it was my first RPG. Really, it was the first RPG that I played, where decision making was a huge part of it, and it almost has ruined other RPG games for me because if the game doesn't have decision making in it, it almost makes me not want to play it because everything in Dragon Age Origins affected the ending. Every person you talked to, there was dialogue to talk back to them.
Were there multiple endings based on the... I never played.
Oh, so many endings. There's so many different endings. There was like the main ending, but then there were like a bunch of different side endings where every little side mission that you did, they would be like, oh yeah, this person that you helped way back, 20 hours ago during the game, during gameplay, this is what they went on to do afterwards, and
that's
this
really
happened
neat.
because of it, yeah. So it was really neat I played through that game so many times and got so many different endings. It was just a ton of fun. Fantastic RPG game set in obviously the Dragon Age world where dragons roam the lands along with other horrible monsters. You run around with like a sword or magic. Or whatever you create your character to be. That's the other thing is character creation. Your character, you can make your character anything you wanted it to be. I always liked being a stealthy rogue, but I also made a mage character, a big tanky warrior. Anything you wanted to do, it was there. And that was one of my first RPG games that I actually sat there and played and finished. Because up to that point, I mostly had played first-person shooters like Call of Duty. When I was younger, I played Medal of Honor. Mm-hmm. I never played, we had the original PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. I never played Final Fantasy or anything, which I kind of regret, because apparently those were fantastic.
Apparently 7 was the best of the bunch from what I hear.
Yeah.
I've never played any of them, besides the Final Fantasy 14 a little bit, but...
Yeah, so up to that point, I had not really experienced RPG games, and then I played Dragon Age Origins, and I'm like... This is a whole new world. And I started playing other RPG games, and some of them sucked, and some of them were great. And but that was kind of the first one. So I would say that's probably my favorite single-player game of all time. It still holds up. The graphics aren't amazing, but if you download it on PC and install some mods and stuff like that, you could get the thing for $5 during a Steam sale, and it still holds up to this day because of how many endings it has, how in-depth everything is. Fantastic. Made by is it made by Bethesda? No.
Dragon Age? I don't think so. Well, now you gotta look it up. But while you look that up,
BioWare. It's made by
right.
BioWare, which is they also make the Mass Effect games, which is basically just Dragon Age in space. Also fantastic games.
I'd say my favorite single-player game is Fall. I mean, I'm glad you enjoyed the game. I know nothing about Dragon Age. I have literally nothing to contribute. Never played it. It sounds like Skyrim a little bit, but
yeah.
Fallout 4 is my favorite single-player game of all time. And
Knew it.
what?
I knew it.
Oh, I thought you said no it. I'm like, are you trying to interrupt my Fallout talk here? Are you saying Fallout 4 is not a good game? You're going to try and preach to me about how New
No,
Vegas was better?
it's a fantastic game. I just knew that's like one of the only single player games I think I've ever seen you finish.
I don't finish a whole lot of them, but I love that game so much. I always wanted to get into the Fallout franchise, but whenever I tried getting into Fallout 3 or New Vegas, it was always a massive pain because those games, they're dated. They were really dated. I was used to playing COD and the fluidity of 60 FPS and all that. Then I go to a game like Fallout 3 where your guns just don't work and they look like shit, and everything about like the gunplay was just horrible. And it was hard for me to get into the fantastic storytelling and the RPG elements of the character creation and decision making that you had in Fallout 3 and New Vegas, knowing how good COD's gameplay was in Battlefield and basically all the other shooter games at the time. So I had a hard time with that. I've always said as soon as a new Fallout game comes out, I'll try to get into it. And then Fallout 4 came out, and Fallout 4 has good shooting, and it also doesn't have as good RPG elements, but it was amazing. First time through the world, the Commonwealth it was fantastic. It was so fun going through, learning about the lore, because I knew a little bit about like Nuka-Cola and the Great War and 2077 and everything like that. It took a while for me to actually get into the game, but once I finally got into Fallout 4, it was massive. I had so much fun with it. And then after that, I went back to New Vegas, and then after that, I went back to Fallout 3, and because I love the world so much and the stories and the characters so much that like I can get past the terrible shooting and stuff like that now. Whereas before, when I knew nothing about the world, I was just going in blind. I had no idea what was happening. Like, I don't know the story. I don't know the world. All I know is this game sucks at shooting. This is a really bad shooter. That's all I could really focus on. And to this day, I think about Fallout 4. I listen to Fallout music on streams because it's amazing.
Introduced us to so much new music.
Old music, technically, but yeah.
Yeah, old music.
I'd say jazz and swing's like my favorite genre of music now. Yeah, Fallout 4 definitely is my favorite one. I can't wait for another one, but I feel like we're at least 5 years away from a new Fallout game at this point, which is super sad.
Way more than that, because they're going to be releasing the next Elder Scrolls, which I know you enjoyed Skyrim.
I did, but I don't care nearly as much about Elder Scrolls lore as I do Fallout lore. Like, I
still play it.
I will, but I don't know what's even. I only know like the story of Elder Scrolls, to be honest. Like, there's an overall like overarching story and like world that takes place in Fallout 4. I don't even know what the floor is for the Elder Scrolls series. I just know I played through Skyrim and I thought it was fun. Paarthurnax was my guy.
Paarthurnax was yeah. Well, something I do want to mention. A big thing in both Dragon Age and Fallout 4 is decision making, being able, choosing what your dialogue choices are. And another big thing that I think a lot more RPG games need is skill checks. And that is basically, if you approach somebody, you can handle a situation differently based on what your skill level is in a certain skill. On Dragon Age Origins, there was a persuasion skill, and if you had a high persuasion, you could convince people to do certain things that you wanted them to do, even if, normally, if you had a lower persuasion, they would ignore you completely, or, the skill check would fail, and bad things would happen.
Fallout similar with the charisma stat. If you have high enough charisma, you can discuss different things with different characters, get special dialogue options, and sometimes even have things that change the story a little bit, as you can bypass certain things or get access to certain things because you have high charisma. Whereas other people that may be built towards intelligence, they can do things with the hacking terminals and stuff like that you can't. But if you're high charisma, you can do other things that the lock picking guys can't do. So
yeah, and that was a big thing in Fallout 4. A lot of people didn't like is that there weren't as many skill checks for other skills that weren't just charisma. Like in Fallout New Vegas, based on your intelligence, your strength, your dexterity, you could do other things based on those. There were skill checks for all of them in the dialogue. Like, you could have, if you had a high enough intelligence level, you can convince a scientist to do something special. Whereas Fallout 4, it was more based around charisma. If you want somebody to convince you to do something.
Which I actually really enjoyed having the charisma aspect of the other Fallout games. Like in Fallout in New Vegas, I actually built a pretty high charisma just because I thought it would be fun to do. But basically, I wanted the story, right? I wasn't there because I wanted to have like really good shooting or anything like that. When I beat Fallout 4 and I went to New Vegas, I wanted to have really good and really interesting dialogue. And once I got in there, it was kind of really neat that, you normally have like 3 dialogue options, but at the very bottom it say speech 77. You can say this other thing. I'm like, ooh, I can only say this because my speech is so high. I'm actually glad I did this build. And then so every time there's anything I can like utilize my character in a unique way, I would always do that. I would always be like, all right, well, if if there's a special speech option here, even if it's like something I don't want my character to say necessarily, I'm gonna do it anyway because it's probably special in some way. And that stuff like that's always definitely cool in RPG games. I feel like a lot more RPG games nowadays are a lot more streamlined. And Fallout 4 is actually a good example of that, where the game's more streamlined and the stuff, your individual character can just be good at everything as compared to specializing in only a few things, which makes them stand out, makes them feel unique.
Gives it no replay value. That's the
Fallout 4. You can max out everything in Fallout 4 and just be like, I have all the things.
Whereas New Vegas, that was not a thing.
Yeah, you had to like plan your character. Like I had to use a skill tree calculator when I made my first build. I'm like, I want to be like a charismatic cowboy, pretty much. I want like a single revolver. That's like very charismatic, and I could also like not suck with a gun.
Everybody who played that game ever.
It's New Vegas. I'm going to be a charismatic cowboy.
I'm going to be a charismatic cowboy with a revolver. Yep.
And in Fallout 3, I'm an assault rifle guy because the assault rifle in that game looks a lot like the what is that gun called from Black Ops Cold War? I can't remember what it was called. No, it looks a bit like the Galil, but it's not the Galil. It's a different gun. C-53. I can't remember what it was. It was a later DLC gun that they had that was really bad. But it looked a bit like that. It does look a bit like the Galil, like you said. But I like the look of the assault rifle in that game. I never really went full auto ever whenever I played Fallout. I was either like a pistol guy or a sniper guy, or sometimes melee. I never went like full auto weapon before. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. And it's actually pretty fun.
All right, we can talk about Fallout forever, but we got to move on.
Right, man. You're the one. You're quarterback in this panty raid. This will be a 2-hour-long video for all I care.
Quit it. All right, the next two questions will go so quick because I can just answer them straight away. Brandon on Twitter wants to know who would win a fist fight, Nero or Brother. Obviously me. That's not even a contest. I'm not even gonna let him speak. We're just gonna move on to the next question.
Okay.
The next question is from a different Brandon, also on Twitter. Who would win in a 1v1? Super easy, not even a contest. Doesn't matter what the rules are, doesn't matter what the gun is, doesn't matter what game it is, doesn't matter what map it is. Me. I'm just so much better in 1v1 situations than he is. He's more of I can take out the whole team, but 1v1 situations, when I'm zoned in, focused, it's me. It's all me 24/7. He's got nothing. I'm actually.
So why are you always dead in Warzone?
Why are you always dead in Warzone? Because that's a team game. It's not 1v1. All right. So it's not solos. It was solo. I win every time. You would know that because you're not there.
That's true. There are solos I can't watch.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Adds up. Yep.
We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to the next question.
Okay.
All right. 10th question here. Modern Meme Fair asks. Yeah. This one is for your brother, so me. Has Nero ever shown signs hinting to his future as a YouTuber? I took this as when he was kind of weirdly worded, but I kind of took it as when Joe was younger, Nero was younger. Were there any signs or indications that he would one day do YouTube for a living?
Were there?
So at the time, obviously, I wouldn't say yes because I didn't even know what YouTube was when we were younger. But now, as I'm older, I would say that there were definitely some signs that you could say. I don't want to say that. Try to do this without complimenting you.
Go on. I'm all ears.
Trying to do this without complimenting him too much. He was definitely always a charismatic person.
Aww.
Back in school, the first school that we both went to together, people would just straight up ask me all the time, "Hey, are you Joe's little brother?" Because he was just so well known in the school, and like he was kind of a popular person, as much as I hate to admit that. And people just knew who I was because he existed. So he was pretty popular in school.
I love that.
Had the gift of gab. People apparently enjoyed his company. I don't get it, but yeah.
That's why my brother existing, people acknowledged my existence.
Yeah,
it was pretty great.
Yeah, and that followed up until now.
You're still riding those coattails, my understanding.
But as far as charisma goes, yeah, he was always a semi-popular person in school. People seemed to enjoy his company for some reason. He was also, God, I'm gonna throw up. He was decently creative. He was decently creative, I guess. So he actually enjoyed art. He enjoyed writing. He apparently was decent at writing. I guess won a couple of awards or something in school.
Maybe a few.
So I mean, it makes sense because when you are a YouTuber, especially first starting out, he made scripts for all of his videos. He didn't just read directly off the scripts, but he was, you know, he would make the script and he would kind of follow what he was going to say for those videos.
Like a thesis almost.
Yeah, like a thesis. And public speaking is something that they teach you in school where like you have a book report and you have to stand in front of all the other kids and talk about the book that you just read. And they used to give us times in school. They used to say like, okay, you have to talk for 2 minutes. And people were like, that's so long. Whereas I don't imagine that was like ever a problem for you. You just kind of it wasn't for me either. It was always like, okay, 2 minutes, that's fine. I could sit here and talk. I could sit here and talk about this book all day. You gotta move on to the final question. This video is way too long.
I'm the one that has to edit it tomorrow.
Final question, the big finale, and this was asked by multiple people, like 4 or 5 people. And it's basically, what are your guys' thoughts on Dr. Disrespect, aka Guy Beam, announcing that he will be creating a new AAA studio with Robert Bowling and Quinn Del Hoyo, whose name Del Hoyo, I hope is how you say his name.
Pretty sure it's how it goes.
Yeah, he helped develop Halo 5, a couple Gears of War games apparently, and then of course Robert Bowling, the stealth clown himself, Call of Duty's best inventor, best guy in big guy clown. Bowling. Yeah,
all right, so I'll field this because I don't think you know too much about it. I mean, honestly, there's not a whole lot to know. So, like you said, it was Dr. Disrespect, 402, otherwise known as Robert Bowling, and this De Hoya guy that I never heard of, but apparently he's a Halo and Gears guy. They've all formed together to form a new gaming studio called Midnight Society. And what's neat about it is it kind of brings in people from COD as well as Halo kind of just all together. Because I don't know if you knew this, before Dr. Disrespect was Dr. Disrespect, actually, no, technically Dr. Disrespect was Dr. Disrespect back in 2010, back in Modern Warfare 2.
They became a Sledgehammer dev,
in
he was 2012.
He was a community manager for Sledgehammer for a bit, and then became a map designer for Sledgehammer before going back to Dr. Disrespect and becoming a massive Twitch streamer as compared to YouTuber. Well, actually, he's
Infinite
YouTube
Warfare.
Streamer now.
He made some Infinite Warfare maps, and those were
Advanced Warfare.
I thought that was Infinite Warfare.
Infinite Warfare came out just a couple years ago and was made by Infinity Ward. Sledgehammer Games made Advanced Warfare, which was the first Advanced Movement game, and also the first game by Sledgehammer Games, which was the main title in the series, aside from Modern Warfare 3.
You might be right.
I make Call of Duty videos for a living, I know this. So, now that we have all those guys together, it's kind of interesting, because Robert Bowling is obviously, he wasn't much of a game dev back then. He was mostly just a community manager. So to say that Robert Bowling, is somehow going to take us to the promised land is interesting, because it's like he didn't actually do anything in Modern Warfare 2. He tried getting Modern Warfare 2 fixed, but all he could do is basically, tug on the shirts of the developers and go, "Hey guys, are you going to fix One Man Army?"
Fix it. Yeah, they just kind of ignored. He had some great ideas that they just ignored.
They just didn't care about him at all. And then he was also the guy that said, "Fuck you, Last Stand," in the promos for Modern Warfare 3, the game that had Final Stand and Dead Man's Hand. Yeah, we remember, Robert. We remember. So Guy Beam is going to be their Dr. Disrespect, 402, and this Halo guy. I mean, some cool things might be happening. They say they're going to be making a competitive PvP game in Unreal Engine 5, if I remember that correctly.
Which looks beautiful if you actually look at it.
Yeah, so they're making a PvP game. That's all we know. Might be Battle Royale, might not be. Might be like COD 6v6. Might be a team shooter like Overwatch for all we know. They're making a PvP player versus player game in Unreal Engine 5, and they are the heads of the studio, and they are currently hiring. I would not be surprised whatsoever if we wait minimum 3 or 4 years for their first game to actually show up.
Yeah, it'll be a while.
Yeah, I mean, if they're hiring still a ton of people and that's their main thing is just trying to get people to work for them, I have a feeling we're a ways away from any actual game happening.
Especially since we still have this pandemic thing going on, it's still hard to hire people and get people together for everything.
Yeah. Well, it's
you can't just work remotely with people that you've never even met in person when it comes to I feel like you can't just do that with game development.
You are defending Vanguard right now, but I will not hear of it on my channel.
No, because those people all knew each other before. They all worked.
No, they don't. There's 80 studios all working together. That's the problem. That's Activision,
too many.
Activision just keeps buying up studios and forcing them to work on COD. It's actually a thing. Toys for whoever, I forget his name. was a gaming studio that they conscripted way back in the day. Neversoft, who used to make the Tony Hawk games, they conscripted them into making stuff for Infinity Ward, and yeah, they just basically buy up studios and put them to work on COD. And
which sounds good on paper when you're playing Game Dev Tycoon. That sounds like a fantastic strategy.
That's all they do. That's how COD's
in real
made.
life. Yeah, but in real life, it doesn't work out that well.
No, apparently not, which is why the game released with a bugged out riot shield that didn't work on your back, and then when they fixed that, somehow that makes it so it's like the Modern Warfare 2019 glitch where the riot shield gives you horrible hit detection when people are shooting at you, and then after they fixed that for the second time, now it goes back to the riot shield not working on the front of you. The riot shield didn't work on the back, it didn't work on the front, it didn't work on enemies. Like, the riot shield is just bugged all the shit in this game. It's probably because there's a bazillion people all working together from home over Zoom trying to figure this stuff all out. But also, I think they just don't care as much, because how could it be this hard? It's been like over a month and a half almost. It's been a month and 10 days, and they still have not fixed so many of the problems that the game has. The winter event is going to be happening here in a couple of days, for crying out loud. But yeah, so I'm again, there's not much to say about it. I'm excited for it. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh boy, it's going to be the greatest game ever. I mean, I think Dr. Disrespect is going to be held super accountable for the game. So if the game sucks, they're going to bring it all on him.
Which is why I think that it's gonna, whenever it does officially release, I think it's good. They're gonna release an actual product.
Oh, it's gonna have top tier audio for sure.
Yeah, his entire reputation is on the line here. Yeah. Whereas, like Activision, you think Bobby Kotick cares? You think he reads the comments on Twitter?
You think Bobby Kotick has held a controller in the past 15 years?
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Dr. Disrespect, his entire reputation's on the line here. Robert Bowling hasn't really been in the scene for a few years, and I think he's trying to make a big comeback.
Yeah.
He always had good ideas. They just always ignored him. And I hope to see some of those ideas. When he left Infinity Ward at the time, when he left, he was quoted saying that he didn't enjoy his job. They were too busy making new pew pew games and not enough new.
Too much pew pew, not enough new. I remember that. Holy hell, that's a throwback.
Too much pew pew, not enough new. Yeah, so I am interested to see what he brings to the table. I'm interested to see the game. And if nothing else, it's a new FPS that will get some attention.
Yeah.
No matter what. It's kind of like New World, the Amazon MMO. It became popular simply because it was backed by Amazon. People were like, oh, a new MMO by like the most...
Jeff Bezos the game?
Jeff Bezos the game. Yeah, most people tried it, whether you stuck with it or not. A lot of people did try it. And I think that will be the way... That'll be how it works with whatever game they decide to release. I think everyone will eventually try it, but whether or not it's going to be good or not remains to be seen.
Again, I think we're minimum 3 or 4 years away from even seeing like anything even being playable. Like, I feel like we're a ways away from all this happening.
They mentioned that the game would be in early access.
Oh,
whatever game that they do release is going to be early access.
Okay,
and
maybe not then.
Slowly develop it.
They'll push forward the timeline pretty quick then, because people can release straight garbage in early access, and then people on the internet will be like, it's early access, don't critique it. It's like, no, that's the whole point of early access and alphas and betas is to critique it so they can get feedback and make changes for the full launch of the game. It's literally the point.
The point.
But then people every single year, I have to read comments from just these 5 IQ room temperature people just sitting there like, but it's a beta, stop complaining. I'm like, the point of the beta is to get feedback. I'm giving feedback. If you call feedback complaining, you're in elementary school. Sorry. It just every year I deal with that shit. It's so annoying. It's so obnoxious. It's like, are you done whining yet? It's like,
it's still in beta. Oh, well, here's the full game release, and it's the exact same thing as beta, because apparently people didn't complain enough during the beta, so they didn't fix the problems yet.
I'm telling you, people just listen to old Joe, this COD community, this COD game, the franchise, everything be right back on track.
Might as well call yourself Joey Bowling.
Joey Bowling.
If they would have just listened to him back in Modern Warfare 2, it would have been the perfect game, but no.
I told you. When did I tell you? A long time ago. But I'll say this: their studio is called Midnight Society. Awesome name. I'm gonna choose it. I'm gonna choose to believe it's a reference to Are You Afraid of the Dark? And if they need a community manager, I'm down.
True. You go
I
ahead,
refuse.
get
I
in
refuse to
those
move. I
DMs.
refuse to move. I'll do it from home.
Oh,
But
yeah. I suppose that would work.
I mean, as long as I do something better than Ashton did for Infinity Ward, I'm sure it'll be all right.
Ashton?
You don't know the memes. The former community manager for Infinity Ward was notorious for not communicating.
Oh, yeah. Had no idea.
Yeah.
That's not my job to know.
But she's not there anymore. Now she's at Microsoft because Blame Truth bullied her off the internet, apparently.
Good.
But, Justin, I think this was a good episode of Dear Nero. Did you have fun?
I did. It's much longer than we thought it was going to be. I mean, when you started this, you're like, it's going to be like a 20, 30-minute episode usually.
Well, that's usually what it is. But then you had to come in here and just chat my ear off here. I'm just waiting to eat my sub here.
If you go back when you're editing this, you want to go ahead and figure out who talked more, you let me know. Because I guarantee it was you.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. But Justin, you have anything to promote? Anything to shout out besides yourself?
Other than your stuff that you don't, I don't think you promote yourself enough. I don't think you I feel like people who watch you on YouTube don't even know you have a Twitch.
That's fine. I'm cool with that.
Oh. Why?
I don't know. I just don't want to be one of those people. It's like, follow me on the Twitters and the Twitch and the OnlyFans and the LinkedIn and.
Well, if you enjoy my company, which I think most people who everyone enjoys my company. I'm a fantastic guy. If you enjoy me, go follow him on Twitch because I'm always carrying his streams. So
really is. I don't have to say a word. He just keeps going. It's great.
Yeah, if you want to see more of me, you can go to twitch.tv/NerosCinema and give that a follow.
Tell him Justin sent you.
Yeah, tell him Justin sent you, and then also follow him on Twitter so that you can ask us these questions. And by us, I mean him, because I probably won't be featuring another one for quite some time.
Yeah, probably not. Tired of you already. Or maybe you'll be featured next week because people like you. I guess we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. All right, but ladies and gentlemen, that is this week's episode of Dear Nero, as I deafen myself here because I don't like talking into the mic while he can listen when I'm not talking to him because it feels really weird and I'm socially awkward even on the internet. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning into this week's episode of Dear Nero. Hopefully this makes up for not having an episode last week. I enjoyed it. I mean, it's always fun to just chat with my brother, man, and you guys seem to enjoy it when it came to the COD retrospective, so I had a good time. I think Justin had a good time, and hopefully you guys enjoyed listening. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe if you're new around here, if you haven't already subscribed, even though you're this far into the video. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.